Hey guys, it's xBundok here. So today's video is going to be just a little bit different. It's not going to be on the painting side of things. It's going to be on the taking pictures side of things. Apologies for any cat noises in the background. As you folks know, Clem Fandango is very active and it's early in the morning and I should be giving him all the attention, not you folks. So I apologize in advance. But my brother recently started miniature painting and I thought I'd make this little tutorial just so if he wants to make some really cool or take some really cool pictures of his Tyranids he's been painting up, hopefully these are some helpful tips and tricks that I've learned from having absolutely no experience with it. I'm still kind of finding it out on my own, but I think they've gotten a little bit better. So first things first, I don't use an actual camera. All of my stuff is done through my iPhone. And I know there are very similar settings on Android phones. I used to have this is my first iPhone and I got this maybe 2 years ago. I'm much used to the other Android based devices. And either way, there are apps for both that are bit more camera focused than the actual camera app that's already installed on the mobile that you have. But I think these rules will also apply for if you're using just a regular camera, a digital camera. Obviously, if you have something a bit more high tech, then you also know a little bit more about photography than I do. So I mean, these basics are not anything that's actually in the processing of the image directly. We're not messing with a whole bunch of settings here. It's mostly focusing on what you see here, right? So from my experience, the most important things are lighting and the background. Because you're dealing with something that is not very big, your camera needs to focus. Now, we'll start with lighting. This is my regular work desk. So while I'm working, we don't have any actual overhead lights in this room in the apartment because our apartment complex is wonderful. I'll leave it at that. What we do have the ribbon strip LED lighting up top, which sometimes if you're recording with certain things, like I do have a web camera sometimes that I just got, I'm trying to learn, but you'll get the little waves that track down is because of the light. So we have that. And on that, you can set your percentages of brightness for the white and what color you want for the background. So that can obviously affect the imaging in my video, or you can just turn the color lights off completely. The other thing I have while I'm working is my little ring light here. Now, this obviously can be positioned and it's not a direct light. You got, you know, full on, you can adjust your brightness, which you folks have seen me do during a video, just because sometimes it comes through a lot worse on video than it does while I'm working with it, because obviously I want the light all the way up while I'm working. You also have your flat, your warm tone, and your cool tone with this. Now, that's just starting with that. So we'll also start with the background. You'll see some of my photos I do have where it's everything else is in the background too. If I'm just, you know, making a regular video, that's okay. If I want to focus on details, you want to have a plain background. So this item here is probably my greatest recent investment. It's literally just one of the trifold posters that kids use for school projects. I picked it up at the dollar store for $1.25. Let me move out the guys that I'm going to use for our examples here. And I just knocked them over. So this very easy backdrop. So you can ensure it's all white. It's wide enough so if you do get larger figures, such as some of those dragons or maybe that, you know, that boss figure we had from Bardsung would do really great with this, because again, you want to have that full white, because that's one thing I've run into is sometimes your backdrop just isn't big enough for what you're trying to take a picture of. So we'll start with that, and then I can either use just the tabletop, which sometimes it's fine, you know, it's that wood grain, or I will also try and pose them up top. So I have an old container, excuse me, that I keep all my thumbtacks in, as you just heard. And then just one of our little cotton napkins here. Real easy drop, right? And that's that. It's not super hard. And then we can position our light. So while this is an empty space, this is something I think you should think about, is where do you want your light to hit on your miniature while you're taking your picture? Okay, if you want lighting from above, lighting from below, and think, how does that affect the feel of the miniature? So same way when you're painting, guys, like you have that zenithal prime, so that light's coming from above. If you did an underlighting, you know, that's usually what you think of when you get all the villains sitting in the chair. They have the underlighting casting up. And so you can see, even without something here, just how that will change your space dynamically, okay? So I'm gonna do some examples of footage, so recording footage, and then I am gonna take some photo examples, just so you can see how sometimes the input is different on the camera, even if you're not adding any filters or anything like that. So let's start with one of our smaller miniatures. Let's grab Frankie here, right? So he has a lot of dark coloration to him, and you see how far back we're set? You can't see a whole heck of a lot. So we're gonna take this out of our little tripod here. Once we get in close, right, that autofocus, and you can see a little bit more. And I'm like, well, that's still kind of dark. So if I really wanted, I could try taking that exposure up. You can also adjust our light. So if I bring our light over to the side and come in, maybe it'll look a little bit better. And we can also just zoom. So if you see it, you're looking good there, just pull it in. Either way, right? Now, something bigger can still have the same issues, right? Especially with something of this size. So let me get my tripod back here so I can show you an example. So beholders are a great example for you to see just how much your light can affect. So we full upper lighting, you can't see anything. You're coming around, right? Or if you want to come back here, so that almost gives you like a campfire feel to it, right? Or, I'm not overly fond of this, just because of the shadows, but there's your underlighting, right? And sometimes that is just the vibe that you need to give off. Now these photos, you gotta think, are all mostly for you, right? You're gonna be posting your art on Insta or sending it to your friends just to see what they think about it. So you can always edit it after, right? And so I'll kind of take a couple of photos and I'll tell you how I edited those, just so you guys have them for reference. The only time I really suggest not doing that, right? So for these guys, if I wanted to give a specific vibe, you know, I could try changing to my warmer cool tones here, right? So already that gives you a layer of coloring that you didn't have before. You can also, you know, there's, I don't know how many filters under the sun between all of our editing programs. But if you are trying to sell your miniatures, whether you are amateur, professional, right? Don't filter them. You're being disingenuous to the folks that are trying to buy their miniatures, because you're not going to have a fun time when they get whatever they get in the mail and it's not at all what it looked like. That being said, if you're not, freaking go hog wild, do whatever you really want with it, you know? So now we're going to be putting in some photo examples versus recording examples.
So that's all I've got for you guys today. Hopefully those tips were helpful. If you're still kind of figuring out how to take some photos of your minis. If not, all I can say is mess around with your camera and keep taking more, and eventually you'll get there. As always, thank you for watching. Like and comment if you're interested. Subscribe if you want to come back for more. And as always, take care.